So part of my contract with the council, so we're going to talk about quoting and stuff as we go through the day, but more about working efficiently. So I sent one of my guys out in his first week to go and do a job for the council, okay? So he's turned up, he quoted me $250, which I passed on to the council. And then after he got there, he realised there's a whole concrete path underneath all the stuff. He just thought he was just going to whippersnip it or poison it or whatever. He thought it was all sort of part of the lawn, and then he found that path. Well, it was just an old lady, like aged care, so the council organised their home services. So when he's got there, he's realised, jeepers, there's a path under here, so it's a little bit more work than what he thought. So he sent me those photos. He said, look, I spent the morning there. He still made $250. Spent the morning there, completed the job up to that standard, didn't charge anymore. We sent the photos to the council and just said, oh, listen, he's been there today. We didn't realise there was a path there, but it's come up really well. So he could have cracked the SADs and thought, geez, I've underquoted this. This is crap. I'm ringing up the council and trying to get more money or whatever. He didn't. He stuck to what he quoted and got the job done. So that guy now does somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000 a month for the council. Because every time they get a job, they go, can we get the guy that did that lady's house? Okay, so as we're working through stuff today, just be mindful of or keep that in mind, that if you do a really good service and if you stick to what you've quoted and you just get the job done, things will follow and there'll be a chain flow on reaction, flow on from that. So it's a little bit, I might zoom in a bit. Oh, there it is. Amazing, isn't it? But you'll be amazed at what you can crack in and do. So often new franchisees will go, they'll call me up and they'll say, I've got a job, I've got a lead yesterday, it's awesome, it's going to take me 2 days. And I say to them, bet you any money it takes you a day, tops. You'll be amazed at what you can get done with the commercial gear. And once you've put the price in, it's not down to how long you're on site, it's about getting the job done. So you'll work really efficient compared to perhaps what you would have in the past. But it's all a bit hard to know how long a job will take when you first start. So, we've got 10 minutes till morning tea. You got your clicker working, Mike? It's already on. Wow. Okay, so we're going to start talking around pricing. You'll do a really good quoting session with Mike tomorrow morning. We actually go around and do some practical quotes. I'm not sure that online probably won't be able to do that. Your franchisor will perhaps help you out with that one. But yes, today's about getting your head around it and perhaps coming up with some theories. But rather than price, the more important thing is to focus on efficiencies. So getting the job done quicker is more important than pricing it. They both go hand in hand, but often we find that the guys that make the most money work the least amount of hours. So why do you reckon that would be? Yeah, more efficient, but also once you start charging a premium, you'll find that you'll get referred onto clients that are expecting and prepared to pay more. Whereas a guy who gets knocked back, so to try and give you a bit better understanding, so when I first started, I was told that a gutter clean was $80. Okay, so to clean someone's gutters was $80. 10 years later, what do you reckon I was charging for a gutter job? $80. Why? Because people were knocking me back. So when I quoted 80, some clients would nearly fall over. Go, nah, that's way too much, I'll do it myself. But the people that were paying 80, they loved their husband and they didn't want him up on the roof. They would have paid me 140. But I was focusing on the people that were saying no, okay? So what ends up happening is if you focus on the people that say no, you'll keep lowering your price to meet the people that are saying no, whereas the people that are saying yes would have paid more, okay? So over time, you build a client base of low payers versus a client base of high payers. So sometimes we need to value money a bit differently. Okay, so if you're sitting in here today or at home and thinking, geez, that's expensive, I can tell you now that I'll probably be lower rather than higher. I'd rather have you leave here with a realistic expectation on what to earn and hopefully you smash what I say out of the ballpark. Okay, make sense? So what are we worth? Yep. What hourly rates have you been told, if any? Haven't got into it? Yep.
80, 90 bucks, something like they said to
Yep.
try and figure stuff out.
So we often talk about $1 a minute. So I would say $1 a minute for your minimum sort of pricing. So if a lawn takes you an hour, hopefully it's a $60 mow. Now hopefully you can do better than that, but I'm just saying roughly $1 a minute. Now what we've just come through in Victoria is unbelievable summer growth. So lawns, I've got new starters that started say a month, 2 months ago, and they're ringing me up going, mate, these clients are underpriced. And I'm like, why? He goes, well, it's taken me an hour and 20 minutes and I'm only getting $50. I say to them, well, I can guarantee you, one, you'll be more efficient next time and you'll get it done quicker. But it's the same, the 10-year franchisees, lawns are taking us 30 minutes longer than what they normally would because of just the amount of growth and the thickness of the grass. So you're quoting for all year round. So if you're out there in your first few months and starting to think, geez, they're underpriced, quite often they're not. But we'll go through that anyway. But 60 to 70 bucks an hour for that is good money, I believe. If you're getting 80, well, that's great. So if you're making $1 a minute, $60 an hour, 8-hour day, what are you going to make?
90 bucks.
Minus travel, you might make $4.20 because you're going to lose time as you travel, okay? So that's why our minimum has to be around that 60 and hopefully you can make more. So you've got to remember when we're in here too, like there's 1,800 franchisees. If there was a factory that had 1,800 employees all doing the same work, if you stepped in on day one, whereabouts are you sitting in that factory in terms of productivity? Well, probably the guy that's been there 25 years is just taking the piss, so you'll be better than him. But it's going to take you some time to climb up, isn't it? Now you might say, I'm above average. You might be able to back yourself in and say, every workplace I go into, I'm usually a pretty good performer. But just remember, there's that learning phase. So often we can start to get cranky, I suppose is the word, that it's not going so smoothly. It's just that you're in that learning phase. Remember, you're being paid to train. So you might go out on your first day and mow 5 $40 lawns and get home after an 8-hour day and think, jeepers, $200 across 5 days, $1,000, 50 weeks is 50 grand in turnover. Outside of that being not enough money, what else is wrong with that?
By the time you take all your fees and everything out, it's not much.
Yeah, so definitely not enough money, but there's who's buying for lifestyle? 5 days, 50 weeks. So if you went for a job interview and they said, you do not get sick days, you have to come to work every single day, 5 days a week. We give you a week off at Easter and a week off at Christmas. Are you staying for that job interview? No. So 50 weeks is unrealistic, 5 days. Now the beauty of being in gyms is that when your son or your grandson or your best mate's kids go into the school sports, you would never have gone to your boss and said, oh, mate's a real good runner. My mate's kid's a real good runner. I'm going to go watch him do the 800. You just wouldn't do that. But now that you're a gym, you're down there, and not only that, you're showing off in front of all the school mums and being a marshal at the long jump, and spend the afternoon down at your kids' school sports.
With your gym's Mowing shirt
Hopefully with your gym shirt on. So you have the afternoon. Or if you go to a wedding, they have the recovery barbecue on the Sunday. And you step in on the Sunday and you have 2 beers and go stuff it. I'm having 15 beers and not working tomorrow. That's the beauty of being in gyms. You've got complete flexibility. But it ends up impacting on your bottom line. So what we need to do is we need to... Well, does anyone know what their expenses will be? Roughly? 30 grand we talk generally of. 30 grand a year would generally cover it. So there's not enough money there, obviously. Once we sort of start to average that 400, we're starting to get there. So if you consistently make $400 a day when you walk out the door, you will turn over 80,000 for the year. By the time you have your rain delays, your school sports, your hungover because of a wedding, whatever it is. So 400 has to be your absolute minimum. Do you get what I mean? So 400 becomes a bad day. But it just shows that that $60 isn't expensive. $60 an hour is not that expensive. So hopefully you're getting to the point where you do $400 a day, $400 a day, and then you throw in a $700 day. And those $700 days are usually when you're doing gardening or 3 or 4 cleanups. I believe that you can do 3 $200 gardening jobs and a couple of mows in a day. But you've got to be good at finding that gardening work, so your lawn mowing clients become your bread and butter. Okay, so you need your lawn mowing clients to give you access to those gardens, and that's why over time the guys will start saying, I want less regular lawn mows because I've got profit to be made elsewhere. All right, so $60 an hour is not expensive. Is anyone in a regional area? If you're in a regional area, I should say, like, don't be put off by the guy that's got the lawn mowing $25 in the milk bar window or whatever. Don't put off by them. There's still those guys in the cities as well. They're chasing a different demographic or different client base to what we are. Righto. So, preparing for the day starts the night before. So people that just go through the motions, franchisees that just go through the motions and just roll out of bed and go, okay, I got Mrs. Jones's on today, and then go and mow Mrs. Jones's, are going to struggle. So what you need to be doing is putting time into each day on the night before. So the night before, start planning what you've got on. So you've got a little old lady that every time you go and knock on her door, she takes 5 minutes to get to the front door. She unlocks the 5 deadlocks. She opens the door, and you're her only contact with the outside world for the day. She wants to tell you about the neighbours playing music till late in the night, or she can't get a park out the front, or she can't believe that ScoMo said this or ScoMo said that. Whatever it is, and then you go, right, I'll go and mow a lawn. So you go and mow a lawn, but she has to open up the side gate. So she hobbles around and opens up the side gate. Now you might have lost 5 minutes with that client. So how are we going to prevent wasting 5-10 minutes with that client each time we mow her lawn? Call the night before. Tell her that you'll knock on the door when you're finished. So can you have the gate open for me? Eventually you might get a key. Now this sounds really harsh, but I had a lady that was exactly that client. She'd chew my ear off. I could not get away from her. In hindsight, it was pretty silly. I should have really stuck tight with her because her son started cotton on. But she said to me, my carer takes me shopping on Wednesday afternoons. I didn't see her again for 12 months. So just go there on a Wednesday when she's not there, and she leaves her money out. So you're starting to train them up eventually over time, and that's why your first 3 months things will take a lot longer, because you will have to stay and talk to her. But once you've built up that rapport, away you go. So it sounds silly, but equipment preparation. If I'm sitting there looking at tomorrow's lawns and they're all dusty, crappy lawns, I have to go the effort of taking the blades off my mower and put some old blades on. So I'd book all my rough jobs with sticks and, sort of rougher jobs like around here where some of the lawns around here would be bad on your equipment. So I'd change blades depending on what lawns I had on. So then the days that I've got nice lush lawns, I'm putting brand new blades on. Just have an air compressor set up in my car, in my shed, and bang, changing her over. So client orders a hard one, so you'll stuff up. So in your first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, possibly 3 months, you'll turn up to lawns on a dewy morning, and they'll take you twice as long, or not twice as long, but they'll take you a lot longer because that lawn holds moisture. So over time, you'll build up a bank of certain clients and what time of day to do them. Now the guy you buy the round off, he just does it automatically. It would be too hard for him to explain that to you during handover. You know, even sprinkler systems that turn on automatically on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you'll know not to do those clients on those days. But in your first few weeks, you won't. Client order, I think the biggest thing that you can do is just be trying to take notes as you go. So if you carry a diary with you and start, if you mow a lawn today and it's due again in 3 weeks, fold your diary forward 3 weeks, right? Mowed Mrs. Jones's, dog's name is Ralph, likes me coming in the afternoons, or whatever it is. So that way you can start to sort of build an information piece on each client, and you'll remember that the dog's name's Jake. She'll think you're great because you remember it, but it'll also help you with your planning of what order to do jobs. So this isn't rocket science, and I get that, but I can tell you that's the difference that people make. And what I'm trying to do, I noticed you didn't clean the boards for me during the break, Mike. So if we can find a way, so you're going to say, in your head you're going to say, I work from 8 till 4:30, all right? So that's your general work day. Get home in time and have a kick of the footy with the kids or whatever. So you've got 8 jobs on. And on 4 jobs, so on 4 jobs you managed to save 5 minutes. You know, you start out the back or you had new blades on or whatever it is. So instead of it being 4:30, it's 4:10. And you go and mow, you go stuff it, I'll grab one of tomorrow's lawnmowers and go do that now. Nice little unit, 40 bucker. So if you can manage to find, say 5 minutes across 4 jobs a day and find yourself another 20 minutes to do a 40-minute mow or 30 minutes to do a 40-minute mow, it can be 10 grand in turnover by the end of the year. Now I know what I'm getting at is that you start off at 6 mows, then you go to 8, then you go to 10, then you go to 11, and you're filling the fridge. So all of those little things, which don't sound like they're that much or they're a bit overkill, that's more important than your quoting. Does it make sense? And that's what the guys that are smashing it, that's what they're good at. Whoops. So trailer preparation, client calls for today's jobs, invoice pad. So if you've got a lady that likes you to leave a note to tell you that you've been or whatever, write out the night before. I used to have a theory of if I can do it in the shed the night before, I'm doing it. So whether that's having your Roundup spray pack ready to go, filled up with Roundup, ready to spray when you get there, winding up spare whippersnipper heads, writing notes for clients, invoices, have it all done the night before. You'll run out of whippersnipper cord when you're as far away from the trailer as what you're going to be. So I used to just have little bits of whippersnipper cord stuck in my pocket. Just things like that just make sure that your day goes smoothly. So someone like John, he walks into a backyard and he'll go, right, if I put my grass bag there, by the time I've done my 6 rows and I get to that grass bag, my catcher will be 90% full or 95% full. Right, sounds pedantic, but he'll empty his catcher 30 times for the day. You guys will empty it 40 times for the day because half the time it's half full, and then the other time is you overfill it and make a mess, have to clean it all up. So it just takes time for all those little things to come together. So pretty important you look after yourself. You're the most important tool in the business. So if you're getting crook, go and see a doctor. Get on the antibiotics or whatever it is. If your elbow's getting sore, so guys get issues from vibrations from equipment and stuff, go and see a physio or get some advice on how to stop it getting worse. So guys will wear braces or whatever. But if you just do the manly thing and I'll be right and I'm tough, sometimes it can result in back surgery and whatever. So mowing technique. There's probably one thing you can do better than the guy you buy the round off. And that is grab the blower out after you've whipper snipped. Okay, so we've got a backyard here. That's the path, so we're going to do an edge. Right, a vertical edge, and when we do that, it flicks bits of grass out onto the path. Then normally I'd do a beveled edge or a straight edge. Sorry, that's no good for the camera with the left hand. So a flat edge all the way around. Right, so once you've finished on the whippersnipper, you get your blower and you blow all that mesh you've made back onto the lawn. Okay, but better than that, go and get doormats, blow everything, leaves stuck behind pot plants, get the blower and go nuts and get everything onto the lawn. Because I said it earlier that the mower is the best vacuum you've got. Okay, so once you've done that, you've blown it all back onto the lawn, and then we're just doing 2 laps with the mower. So the reason why we do the flat edge is so you don't have one wheel on the concrete. 2 laps with the mower, and then fill in the gaps. And the reason you do the 2 laps is so you're not cutting grass when you're turning. But I can't emphasise enough to get all that mess, you know, leaves and gutters on nature strips. When the client pulls in the driveway, they'll know that you've been without even seeing the lawn, because there just won't be any leaves or mess anywhere. And it's nice, clean, crisp job. Make sense? So, load the mower with grass bags we talked about. So where would you, in terms of where you start, so if you start at the front of the house or back of the house, what job would be better to start at the back of the house?
Back is work way forwards.
Yeah, so if you're taking the grass off site and it's a big yard, you're better off walking out to the backyard with the mower and dragging everything closer to the front as you go. Just things like that. It sounds pedantic, but that's the key, is to find the quickest way to do things. And when you go forward in your diary and say 3 weeks, dog's name's Ralph, whatever, put last time took me 45 minutes. And just by writing that means you'll do it in 40 minutes the next time. So you can see that that's more important than quoting, isn't it? In a way. So we talked about the trailer during the OH&S with the tarps. I think they're a really good one. You won't overload, but they're a really good way to try and keep it efficient, keep the job easy, I suppose. Sometimes we get in the habit of just going nuts with the hedge trimmer. Spend an hour on the hedge trimmer cutting everything back, and you just look back and there's just a pile of mess, and it's too hard to spend the time to rake it up and clean it all up. Okay, so I had there's a school crossing lady who lived around the corner from me, and I used to ride my bike to school and ride past her, and I gave her donuts. And then day one, I'm set off in my green Tirana, P plates, Jim's trail on the back, pretty proud of myself. She's setting up the crossing, and for whatever reason, rush of blood. Toot me horn, give her a wave. The next day, didn't toot my horn, gave her a wave, and then after a while she'd see me coming and pretend she's doing something else and look away. So I just like got awkward, as it would. Who's this weirdo? So eventually, I don't know where it was, I think I ran into her at the supermarket or something. I said, oh, I'm the gyms guy that goes past every morning. She said, oh, it's great to see a young fella having a go, yada, yada, yada. She said, our gardener's been telling us he wants to give it away. Do you want to come around and quote my place? No problem. Turns out this lady's a widow. And what she did, she lived here. And because she was lonely, she'd make a point of going and have a cup of tea with her neighbours and collect their money. And she basically managed 8 of the houses in the street, and I was to mow all 8 properties. Now, my pricing was horrendous when I first started, so I think I quoted her $17 a house. But I would do those 8 jobs in, like if I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning, I was out of there by 11:30. So, whereas to do 8 jobs, travelling from spot to spot.
So much time.
Yeah. So that's when I started to work out neighbours are the key. So if I'm doing a hedge here, I always get really good at making sure a few branches fell into that neighbour's yard. I go and knock on the door. I've dropped a few branches into your backyard. Is it okay if I go get them? Then you say, by the way, if you ever go on holidays or whatever, I mow Mrs. Jones's, but if you ever go on holidays, it only costs you $40 for me to run over your lawns while you're away. And you will be staggered as to how many people go, oh, start tomorrow. I thought it'd be way more than that. And then you've ended up with 2 in the street, and then 3 in the street, etc., etc. The key is, and if someone says to you, next door neighbour's a nurse, she does night shift, can you not come until 3 o'clock in the arvo, or whatever it is, go and leave a note in the letterbox and say, oh, Mrs. Jones said you're a night shift worker. If there's any time that I'm coming and it's waking you up or whatever, please let me know. If they ever want their lawns done, who do you reckon they're going to call? So it's just about being a good bloke. Good blokes go really well in gyms.
Always toot and lolly not ladies.
Say again?
And always toot and wave at the lollipop.
Exactly. She's still doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, she's a legend. So we've got a house block where a nature strip covers off both of them. So 2 house blocks. The driveway's halfway down there, thingo, if you get what I mean. So some guys will mow to here. But I, almost regardless of how big that nature strip is, I always did the whole nature strip. When this lady's pulling in the driveway, she sees your edges versus her husband's edges. And what's she saying to her husband?
Oh, you made the lawns like that.
Yeah. What sort of a spud are you? So you might end up with getting her nature strip, or she might say, oh, can you, and you'll be amazed at how quickly that sort of stuff can evolve. So just to give a little bit away can result in a job. Sorry mate, I'm making you work there with that camera. Analysis of business creates motivation. If you got home and you only made $300 today and you know that, you added it up, the chances of you making 500 the next day, if you're aiming for 400, whatever it is, increases. If you go home and don't add up what you made, you won't know the next day that you're under. Does that make sense? So guys will say, I want to turn over 110 grand, and they might do 107 in their first year, and then they hit 110 or 115, whatever their goal is. And then the next year, they just walk around thinking that it's just going to happen again, and it doesn't. Because they stop analysing and motivating. So if you guys get home and you go, what month are we in? April. I know that, but by the time we start, it'll be April. There's more to life than being a flog all the time, Mike. 50,
Jim's camaraderie is brilliant.
50 clients, average price $50. What's 50 clients at $50? Cut value 2,500. Cut value 2,500. And then May, 55 clients, average price 53. Whatever you want to do. But if you just keep tracking that, you're starting to get a feel for how you're going, and it'll help you with your quoting. So that sort of stuff it's just like a hidden motivating tool that's probably underutilised. All good? So how do you want to be perceived? If someone's going to refer you to their friend, what do you want them to say about you?
Reliable.
So we'll make a bit of a list here. Normally there's a bigger room and we can get one from each person. Ooh. All right, so we got reliable. I'll put professional. What do we got? Reliable, professional, so friendly. Punctual, yeah. Smoking hot.
Wear their shorts a bit high.
I think flexible is an important one. When you first start, you'll say yes to every client. Once you're flat out, you'll start saying things like, "Oh, I was in your area yesterday. You should have called me then." So you'll start to get too busy that you don't provide that same customer service. What else we got? There should be heaps.
Efficient.
Yep. Friendly.
Can be trustworthy.
Yep. Can do. Knowledgeable.
Have you done any courses as well? Set in your time, or have you, like, did you do horticulture or anything like that?
Yeah, I did horticulture. Yeah. And then a training course.
Yeah. And then just,
Sorry, as in I had to do a training course for this stuff. But yeah, Hort was really good. You'd be amazed that if you give your clients, if you let them know that you don't know something, you'll be amazed at how many of them teach you. So I had like clients going around with sticks telling me where to cut for a fruit tree, or you know, they were 80 and past being able to do it themselves. But so yeah, but by me saying, "Listen, I've never pruned an apricot tree," they go, "No worries, I'll show you."
yeah. Because they obviously, they just want it done.
Yeah, and they can't do it anymore. So honest, trustworthy.
You don't do any course online for horticulture,
We might be this year.
but there is nothing about yet.
It looks like this year because of the coronavirus.
It will be.
Yep, you've timed it perfectly.
Do a lot of courses then.
So I think they're going to do online or a facilitator similar to what these guys are doing. But then someone has to come out and assess your work. Something like that.
Do you know when it's going to start?
It's all happening now. Like it's,
Hands of the gods.
yeah, it's underway. There's info starting to get released. And it'll be just us. Only Jim's Mowing people will be looking at it. So it's one benefit of the coronavirus. Where do you want to sit?
In the middle. Middle of the line.
Further down.
Yep.
Yeah, a bit higher than that, but yeah. Eventually, not obviously now.
I've got a guard of that. Oops. I've got a gardener. He, she is expensive, but is smoking hot. Or reliable, or friendly, or whatever it is. He's that knowledgeable. He's the best. Because you know what's happened? And what happens? His clients have had enough. They just want to leave that for someone else, come home, know it's been done, know it looks good, you haven't smudged dog shit into their back lawn, you've cleaned up all the mess. They just want that. And if it costs an extra $10, it's a bit like that Vic Roads guy that I was talking about earlier. But the key is you have to back it up. So a crappy operator who doesn't do a good job and is expensive will just continually rely on leads. And his fees will be higher, he won't convert, and therefore it's just this constant, and eventually he won't stick at gyms. But if you're a good operator and you back yourself up with this, you can charge for it because you are good. So I talk about, you forgot that you had a golf trip with the boys, you got the all clear 3 months ago, then you forgot all about it. The week before you played up, and so to make it up to your wife, you've said, this weekend I'll take you out for a nice meal. We'll go out somewhere nice. And then your mate rings and says, you're all set for the golf trip. You're like, shh. So you go and tell the wife that you're not going to take her out for dinner because you've got to go on the golf trip, but maybe we can go out Sunday night instead. So you do all that, you go on your golf trip, you blast heaps of money on the punt, you drink too much, you're hungover and broke come Sunday, and the last thing you want to do is go out for dinner. But you end up going out, you go down Lygon Street, you walk along, pot and Palmer, $14 in one of the pubs. It's going to cure your hangover, it's going to save the money that you don't have because you blasted on the punt. Are you going into the pot and Palmer place? Probably not.
No.
Not if you want to keep your marriage. So you walk along, there's a bloke in a suit, out the front, come on sir, beautiful steaks. You look in the joint, it's all nicely lit, there seems to be more staff than there are people, and your wife just looks at you and goes, what do we know about that place?
It's expensive.
It's expensive, but we know we'll get good food, good service, and maybe good luck with the wife. So we spend the money. So that what I'm getting at is you can be a Pot and Palmer franchisee, or you can be the $40 steaks. If you're going to set the bar high, you back it up with service. You do all those things. Crucial. And it might be that you have to start here, but once you've been going for 12 months and you're confident that your work is as good as anyone's, start lifting the bar. And we're not ripping people off. We're charging a premium but backing it up with good service. All make sense? Ooh. So cheap work equals cheap clients. That's what I did. So when I was charging $15 for every mow, I'd go and quote someone 25, and they go, "Oh, but Betty down the road said you only charge her 15." I go, "All right, I'll do it for 15." So I was just finding clients that wanted cheap work. They would have been ringing saying, "You got to get this bloke. He's 18, he's dumb, but he does a good job and he only charges me $15. And I promise you, this is without a word of a lie, from December onwards, as I was mowing my clients' lawns, I would have to go home at lunchtime to empty out the car of all the gifts. Well, they were giving me slabs of light beer, which I couldn't drink as an 18-year-old. The hampers, like massive big hampers and whatever. And then 10 years later, would not get one gift. Because they'd be going, "That bastard makes enough out of us." Like, it's amazing. That's true. So, be the best and charge accordingly. But just back onto the value thing. So, if your mum, my mum and dad live, let's say they live 5 hours away, dad does all the lawns and the gardens and all the maintenance, and he dies suddenly. So mum's in a spin, she's all upset, doesn't know how she's going to stay on top of things, and I say, "Listen, Mum, I'll come up this week, I'll spend the week with you, and I'll get some gardeners and stuff around that will get some prices and get all that sorted for you so I don't have to worry about it." Now, if I find a gardener that's friendly, trustworthy, and professional, given mum's in a fragile state, I am going to be prepared to pay a whole lot more for him than the other person that doesn't give me that vibe. Is that fair call? So that's what you need to be mindful of when you're out in front of the clients. Find out what their concern is, or what their issue, I suppose you'd call it, and go from there. Reinforce it. You can take care of whatever their problem is. So, client calls the office. What do they get told? Someone will call back within. Yep. So make it 10 minutes if you can. So is anyone buying around with no clients, or if anyone's buying around with no clients, have a strap to your leg with a vibrator on it or whatever for every time you get a message, so you can just be bang straight on. And Jim would have reinforced that, but that's true. I actually got a lead 2 doors up from a house that I was mowing once, and so I stopped the mower and went and knocked on the door. Didn't go too well.
I was going to say that would have freaked them out.
Yeah. You've been hiding in my backyard.
I saw you on the phone.
That's true though, it was awkward. So you return the call within 2 hours, but hopefully you can do it a lot quicker than that, okay? So remember that that person's tried to ring a plumber and they never got back to them and all that, so already they're going, this is good. Great start. And then you make a time to go and meet to do the quote. So it might be, the longer you do this, the better you'll get at saying, "Are you going to be home all afternoon?" And they'll say yes, and you go, "No worries, I'll be there between 2 and 3 or whatever. But for the sake of this, we're going to be there at 4:30. So you turn up on time, don't get there early because she could be breastfeeding or having a shower or whatever it is, getting ready. So early can be just as frustrating for people as what late is. So you turn up in clean uniform and trailer. So by clean, I don't mean spotless, like we're gardeners. So, bit of dirt on the sleeve or whatever is not a problem. If you're covered in dog shit or barker eggs, maybe change that. Bit of deodorant perhaps so you don't stink. And then trailer. So trailer's an interesting one because I reckon it's not vital, but I think it's a good thing just to have that Jim's trailer pull up. So often guys will go home, unhook their trailer, and then run around in their wife's car and do quotes. Which I just think having that Jim's trailer just immediately puts the client at ease. Not vital, but... And then you've got your business card and no sunglasses. So we walk up to the door, I used to knock on the door, and then I just turn my back. So if they haven't seen the trailer, when they do their they can immediately see the Jim's Mowing logo. Okay, not crucial again, but that's what I used to do. They open the door, "Hi, I'm Ben from Jim's Mowing, here's my card." And I used to give them the card straight away, or give them 3 cards. And that way it just gave them something to hold on to, and then they didn't call you Jim. So in early days, you used to just get called Jim. Oh, hi Jim. No, it's Ben. So they've got the cards that they can refer back to what your name is, and it gives them something to fiddle with. It's not crucial again, but the last thing you want is a client doing this. Because you'll have in your head 60 bucks and you'll blurt out 50. Especially if they're 6'6" and covered in tats. How much are you going to rip me off? No, only 50, and then you'll hate it every time you mow that lawn. So anyway, you have, I think all of that's reasonably easy. Is that a fair call?
Yeah, it's been touched on quite a bit.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's pretty well drilled in.
Yep.
So especially it's the simple things like to say though, like even just a change of shirt or something, because if you
Yep.
had a really tough day and it's been hot or whatever, then the last thing you want to do is turn up snow.
Yep.
Really weathered and dirty and so smelly.
Yep. So this is the hard part now. So trying to get them to speak. They don't care that you've insured. They don't care that you've done the gym's training under Mike Davenport.
I always wait for something, really.
Or they don't care that you've been police checked even. Well, we don't know what they care about. So you need to find out what their problem is. So that the less you can talk, the better, the more likely you'll get that job, which is not that easy. That's the hardest part. So trying to find out what it is. So they will give you clues. Have you ever had your lawns mowed before? Yes, no. So then they'll say, no, yeah, we have. How come you don't use them anymore? Well, my husband sacked him because he said he was going to do it, and he's always off playing golf, and I'm sick of the lawns being long. So that's a really easy one, isn't it? Because then you say, what we do is we put you on a regular cycle, which may have been what you had in the past. I can turn up within, if your lawns ever get long, I can turn up within 48 hours. Do you mind if I have a look around to see how big your yard is? And that's it. You don't have to say anything else. So asking open-ended questions, not always that easy, but that's the key. And once they start talking, then you can find out what their problem is. If you've done all of those first 6 things and they were expecting it to be 50 bucks and you quote, say, 55 or 60, I reckon they'll give you a go. But then you have to back it up. Okay, if they were expecting it to be 40 and you quote 60, you're not getting the job no matter how well you do any of that. And when they say, no, that's too expensive, you say, thanks very much, you've got my card. If you don't have any luck finding one, feel free to give me a call. I'll be more than happy to help you. And you walk off thinking, how good's that? I don't want that client. Because when you go to do a hedge, she's going to expect that to be nothing as well. So don't be upset if you miss out on a client, especially if they tell you it's too expensive. Perfect.
You've got to have a cut-off point.
Yeah.
Even if you're starting out.
Yep.
Because your running costs are low.
Yeah. And all of you guys will have, your diary will fill up. That's one thing we know, if you're half decent.
And I would like to say that you just keep attracting cheap clients.
Yeah.
You know,
She'll tell her friend and then,
the whole spring's cheap.
yep. So the hard part, finding out what it is, what their problem is. I had a conference where they talked about sales. And so, open-ended questions. So I've got this lead, I'm walking up the driveway and the lawns look really nicely edged. So I'm thinking, this is a bit odd. So I knocked on the door, said, here from Jim's. Yep, just looking to get a price on some regular lawn mowing, no worries. I said, look, your lawns look really good. Who's done the edges in the past? I said, I used to use VIP. Why aren't you using them anymore? Last time they were here, they let the dogs out. I said, no worries. So dogs are good, they love us because we've got grass all over our pants and they'll always run up and sniff in that. So we go around the back and 2 little white fluffy dogs and I say, they're beautiful German Shepherds. She said, no, they're actually Shih Tzus. I said, I love these dogs. My grandma's got the same sort of dogs and I give them a pat and tell her how we'll look after them and that. So I said, what a VIP charge? She said, 30 bucks. I said, no worries, we can do that. We'll come back tomorrow. So we get there, pull up with my helper and I say, mate, whatever we do, don't let the dogs out. We'll both go out the back. We can start together and then we'll shut the gate. So just a waist high gate. We go and do the backyard we go to go out the front, and on the outside of the gate is two little white dogs. And so down tools, chase the dogs, get close, they run away, get close. So we end up with the dogs down the back of a court. And I said to my helper, right, when I say go, you've got that one and I've got that one, and we'll just dive on them and get them. So we're like, trapped them into the corner, go, get them. So we're carrying them back and they're trying to scratch and get away from us and all that. Take them back, drop them over the gate, problem solved, except as soon as their feet hit the ground, there's two little white dogs from out the back. And so now there's 4 dogs in the yard. And the 2 that we chased look nothing like the originals. So I don't know, the VIP guy might have planted them, but true story. It's like when you lose your wallet and you start looking in fridges and stuff where you've never ever put your wallet. Once I saw those 2 dogs, my brain just went into... Yeah. So Mrs. Smith will talk about you at the Bowls Club. Give her plenty to talk about. Call when you're running late, bins out. So I've got a franchisee that whenever he quotes an elderly person's lawns, he tells them as part of his service he puts their bins out each week for them. So he might only mow it every 3 weeks, but he says, I'll put your bins out each week, as long as it's in his area where he travels. And guess what he does with their bins? Fills them up. Elderly people know their bins are always empty anyway, or half empty. So he just every day knows what suburbs to swing around, pulls all his clients' bins out, fills them up. Done. Call when running late. So sometimes it annoys clients, especially elderly people. You ring and say, oh, listen, I thought you might be expecting me today, but I'm flat out, I'll come tomorrow. And they'll say things like, oh, you don't need to call me, I know you'll turn up. Well, you're not actually ringing for their benefit. You're ringing so that when she's at the Bowls Club and the lady across the table says, my gardener hasn't shown up for 4 weeks, she says, you've got to use my guy, he's the best. He rings me even when he's 1 day late. Get what I mean? Christmas cards are starting to get a bit harder or less popular. But again, it's just about being a good bloke. Clients will love it. We used to do, it's probably gone out of fashion a little bit, but we used to ring clients. If we were booked in for, say, 4 o'clock to see a client, we used to ring and say, I'm just going to be about 4:30 if that's okay. My lawn mowing clients just asked me to clean her gutters for her, so I've just been held up a little bit. Is that all right? And so then when you get there, they would ask you about how much it costs to get their gutters done. Yeah. All right, so Mike knows a job in 30 minutes. You mow the same job in an hour. So I'll say John from yesterday. He's super efficient. You're learning the ropes. You want $1 a minute, he wants $1 a minute. What's the charge? It's taking you an hour, it's taking him 30 minutes. We'll come back to it. So you did a hand pruning, let's say a big row of agapanthus up a big long driveway, and you did it all by hand. The next year you used a hedge trimmer. What's the charge? Same. So the client's paying for the end result. Whoop.
Sorry, Evan. So when customers see that you are using a ride-on mower and they see that you are a lot quicker doing the job, they don't try to put the price down or something to say, now you do it in 5 minutes.
Yep.
Don't charge me like you used to do in 1 hour.
Yeah, so some will question it, but not many, because they know that it's more expensive. Probably
You can justify with the better equipment.
ride-on's an easy one. Where I reckon the biggest shift for us came when multi-tools come out. So let's say there's a massive branch from the neighbour's front yard that leans up over your client's driveway. So they say, oh, the birds are shitting on our roof of our car. Can you chop that branch off? Now, pre-multi-tool, that was a difficult job. Whereas now, you go, no worries. You pull out your multi-tool, zing. You could even back your trailer up so that it just drops straight into the back of your trailer, and you feel guilty for charging that client $60, $70, whatever it is. But in the past, that was quite a challenging job because you couldn't access it. You'd have to do it on a ladder with a hand saw or whatever. So it's just appreciating what your equipment's worth, which is what we'll go through as well. But no, ride-ons, clients won't mind too much about that. You'll always have clients that want to barter on price, but it's probably like 5%. The rest just accept, and they just want it done. Has anyone used Jim's Mowing in the past or had someone do their lawns?
Not mowing.
No. People just want to know that their lawns are going to get done. So yeah, I don't think you'll have too much trouble, Raph. So earn the right. It takes time. Don't get disillusioned at the tip or at franchisee meetings, right? So what I mean by that is, you pull in at the tip, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you've got a full trailer, there's a Jim's Mowing bloke next to you at the tip. How you going, mate? Good. Looks like a big job. Yeah. Yep. Had a great morning. How much you charge for that? Let's say you say $400. $400. $400. Mate, I would have charged $400 just for the rubbish. There's 1,800 gyms, some of them are flogs. So, sometimes when you're at meetings and stuff, you'll have guys that turn up and say, I don't stop my car for less than $50. I've sold those blokes franchises, and guess what I find? $25 mows. So, like all things in life, find good role models, listen to the right people. If you were rapt that you made $400, that's great. If he's telling you that he would have charged more than that, good luck to him. He probably wouldn't. He's probably lying. Okay? So worry about yourself. Speak to your franchisor. It's really important because you can get. I had one fella who had just stressed him out. He was loving it, and then someone said to him, "I don't make less than $600 in a day ever." And so then he's ringing me, going, "What am I doing wrong? I'm only making 450. You know, I'm like, mate, he's probably full of it. So the jobs you're buying underpriced, I've got there maybe, but not always. Okay, so give yourself 3 months to find out. I've got that going on, I said it earlier, with the grass is growing so rapidly at the moment that I've got some of my new guys that are starting to freak out a little bit that, you know, these jobs are taking way longer. It's just that the grass is long and you're slow. You haven't got it down pat as what you will have in 3 months. And sometimes someone might put up with a lawn that's a little bit cheaper because they get $500 out of hedge work every 3 months out of the client. So there'll be reasons why that franchisee has kept it at that price. Yep. And once you're confident and you know that you're good, go and put it up. But just give yourself a few months first. 3 months, 12 months, 3 years. Just get through the next 3 months.
Day at a time.
Yep. Paid to train. If you have a bad day, okay, well I got paid a little bit to learn. If you quoted a hedge at $400 and you go and spend a day and a half there, you will never underprice a hedge again. So you've been paid to train. It's given you the experience to not make that mistake again. So 3 months, you're leaving up here, there's going to be a drop off. So I call it the meltdown phase. And it's like, this is shit. That Jim, he was an actor. The franchisor's no good, he stitched me. The bloke I bought the round off's crap. Full of it. Mike, well, we know that anyway. Get through that, because there will be a drop off. You're sitting up here right now, can't believe Jim gives you a phone number. How good's that? Training course was great. I'm going to make all this money. And then you get out there, you know, let's say you drive off with your mower ramped down, so you've smashed your trailer up, needs repairs. I just had a new guy lost his whippersnipper. Forgot to, yeah, you know, he's in his 3rd week, left his whippersnipper on top of the trailer, drove off, gone. There's going to be a drop off in that first 3 months. Pick yourself up. This time next year, you've got a spring under your belt, you know your way around, you're confident that you're smashing out good times, and then you're about to approach. You're not, it sounds stupid, we're not actually that far away from another spring. So just get through that. Once you've done 3 years, you'll be in it forever. But you've got to be prepared for that first 3 months to have a bit of a drop off, some hard yards, hard days. And it's how well you respond from it. Because if it was really easy just to go out and make $600 a day every day, there'd probably be 5,000 gyms. There's enough work for it. But you just got to be mindful of that. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
The dollars lost while earning the right comes back to you in time. So that first example, $45 because John or Mike or whoever is super efficient, they're actually getting $1.50 a minute. And you're getting that little bit less because you're still learning the ropes. You're 75 cents a minute, I think. Get what I mean?
I like to say it's not becoming disillusioned and
No.
going, oh, this is,
Yep.
we'll all do it, that's for sure, and everyone does, but
Yep.
it's just a matter of trying to see the bigger picture and
Yeah. So
staying focused.
you might smash a window in your first 3 months. You might, there'll be challenges that you put in front of you, but you just need to be mindful of just going, right, we can get through this, and once I get through it, it's going to be great. Because the lifestyle, once you're up and going, and the lifestyle that this gives you is easy and enjoy. Like people say, do you miss mowing lawns? And I go, yes. Oh, really? But you'll get home from work, you've made $600, you've been on your own all day, you're ready to socialise, you're active, not getting fatter by the day, you're actually getting skinnier. Like, it is perfect. But it just takes a while to get to that point. All right, so commercial clients. So I'm sure you've done enough goal setting throughout the week, so I won't go into it too much. But if you say, I just want one real estate agent that I do work for, right? So if you just go, I feel like if I can get in with a real estate agent, I'll be laughing. So that way, when you do get a lead for a real estate agent, or you meet one at a pub or a party, you can put the time into them to say, hey, I'm keen as mustard, I've got this gym's around, I want to get a real estate agent on my books. You'll be amazed at how they'll go, yeah, mate, we use them all the time, we use gardeners all the time, be more than happy to give you a go. What do I do with my little clicker? So clients versus one-off. So sometimes we fall into the trap of just focusing on our regular customer base. But if someone calls the call centre and gets a rubbish removal done, and in 12 months' time their garage is filled with rubbish again and they want another person to come and collect the rubbish, there should be no reason why they don't call you. Should there? So if you do the right thing by them as a one-off client, they will call you again, or they'll call the gyms again, and the job will go to you. Okay, so building a client base. So the longer you're in gyms, the less regular lawn mowing clients you need. So the best example I've got is a franchisee was driving home on Christmas Eve. He got a lead for a retirement home, rang them. They said, our gardener's gone home and forgot to mow the nature strip. So he's driving, he's on his way home, he's spewing, does a U-E, goes back. Now he could have charged them whatever he wants. He goes and has a look at it, quoted him $40 to do the nature strips, fairly big nature strip. Does the job, jumps his car, never thinks about it again until they ring in March. And they go, we're weighing up whether we upgrade all of our equipment and keep our gardener on, or whether we outsource it. Would you mind quoting the regular maintenance? So he quoted 70 grand for the year, got the job, paid a kid, a trainee, to go there 4 days a week, bought him some gear, and this kid did his like apprentice gardening or traineeship, and he made himself 40 grand like that. So that's building clients. Whereas if you had to go on there and charge them $100, they would have paid him the $100 but said, we won't be using him again. Do you get what I mean? Really important that you focus on not just your regular mowing clients, but repeat work. So things that we don't do that we should. If you do a hedge for a lady, comes up really nice, 3 months later you're driving past and it's looking a bit shabby, give her a call. So it's just, Raph from Jim's Mowing, I'm just driven past, notice your hedges are starting to look a bit shabby, more than happy to run over them again for you. You'll be amazed at how many people would say yes to that. And I think, did John mention it yesterday? No, he might today, but that's what he does. If he's ever, because he's got a team of guys, if he's ever looking for work, he just goes back through all of his leads and gives them a ring. Does everyone know how splits work? Yep, so you can sell off clients and, yep. So build up your client base to the point where you're doing too much lawn mowing and not enough of the profitable work or more profitable work, sell off suburbs. All right, so outside of safety, try to get in the habit of not knocking back work, okay? So what I mean by that is, if something's overwhelming when you get there, so to give you an idea, with our DHS jobs, we did one the other day that was 17, one of my franchisees removed 17 trailer loads of rubbish out of this house. So when he first gets there, he walks in and goes, I'm not going to be able to do this, it needs a bulldozer. But then, so what I say to him is I say, righto, if it's their first time, I'll say, do me a favour, just go into the lounge room and get all the big furniture and load that trailer up and ring me when you're on your way to the tip. So they ring me a couple of hours later or whatever, and I say, righto, well, do me another favour, you can go back and just grab one more trailer load and ring me when you're on your way to the tip. So they do that, it might be 2 o'clock. And I say, if you go back and get one more trailer, you've made $1,000 for the day. And they go back and do it. And then, so mate, you can do that again tomorrow and make another $1,000 if you want. But sometimes it can be really overwhelming if there's a job that you just look at and you go, I would not know where to start.
Yeah.
Well, the easiest way is to make a start.
Yeah, like you said, with the one with the garden.
Yeah, that guy with the garden at the start, exactly.
Well, that's like there's a job I was doing labouring at, and they asked me to do their backyard because they knew that I was doing this. And the
Yep.
first thing I did was bring my franchisor. I sent him the photos, and I'm like, I'm going to need you to come and help me quote this job.
Yep.
I said, it looks like it hasn't been done for 10 years. I
And
said, no, I definitely need to skip it.
And did you do it?
I haven't done it. When I get back from here, I've got to contact them.
Mm-hmm. So as I think I said it earlier, but more often than not, people go, it's going to take me 2 days, and more often than not, it only takes you a day. But once you get that gear fired up, but the key is to have a crack, and you know what? If you stuff it up and don't make any money, it's still,
It's a learning curve.
yep, it'll help you quote the next one.
And then they said to me, oh, we've got bamboo. And I'm like, that's a day in itself.
Yep. So access and stuff can be, yeah, access can be a challenge.
The access is easy, the back gate's there and you can put a bin right there.
Yeah, well then you can get something to pull that bamboo out. But yeah, have a call on other gyms, ring up your franchisor and say, who can I get to come and help me with this job? And the two of you, you'll build a little network of your guys that are happy to help you. Raph hasn't even started and he's got 2 or 3 guys down in Torquay that would come and help him if he was overwhelmed. You'll have the same. Like it's just, the key is to actually do the job and then it helps you next time that job pops up. But trying not to go, I can't do that, is you're better off having a crack. So common sense, but networkers go well. I used to watch Burke's Backyard. Didn't know he was a creep. And then but it caught me out when I was watching repeats over summer and I'm talking about winter pruning and whatever with clients. But see a landscape gardener working next door, go and introduce yourself. Guess what landscape gardeners get asked to do all the time? maintain their people's properties. Guess what landscapers hate doing? Maintaining their clients' properties. So go and have a chat to them. When there's a drought or whatever, or if there's, like, you know what products are out there to help people. If it's a dry summer, go and speak to someone about how to install sprinkler systems, or what sort of water granules and stuff you can put out on people's lawns, and then you can share it with your clients. So the other big thing about us, when you go to a party, so like let's say your wife's taking you to some school thing and you don't know anyone, she knows everyone but you don't know anyone, so you and all the other husbands are going to stand around looking at each other going, I don't think I like that bloke. What's the one thing that people can ask you about?
What do you do for work?
Yep. And all they'll go, oh, you've got that gyms round. So how's gyms going?
Good.
How's gyms going? 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 Why don't you go, I love the work, but a bit short on work.
Because it doesn't, it's not, it doesn't matter. Like
But-
it's just not good advertising.
No, well, it is, because if you go, mate, I'm loving it, I'm just like, I reckon I'm stressing out a little bit, I'm not filling out my week. So what are those people thinking? Oh, my mum gets a gardener. I'll see whether she can use you. Okay, so we fall into the trap of saying, yeah, going really well. If you run into a gym at the tip and he says, how you going? Mate, I'm stressed, got no work on. Guess what he's going to do? Every weeding job, every gardening job that he doesn't want, he's going to give it to you, isn't he? But naturally, we want to tell people how great it's going. But you're better off, tell your franchisor, ring him every day and go, I'm stressed, give me some work. The first time that your franchisor comes across work, you're going to be the person that pops into his head. But naturally, especially blokes, we say, going good, going good. But you're better off saying it's the opposite. Yeah, unless you're going great guns and you don't want any more work. So yeah, but it's an interesting one. But you'll find that people want to talk to you about gyms. Like I get sick of talking about gyms because it's just easy conversation for people. It's small talk. People can ask you about it. So certificate in horticulture, we've talked about it. It gives you great confidence. You'll feel like you know what you're doing. Correct terminology. Advantage over competitors. So it's a really good thing just for your own peace of mind. Instead of saying things like, that's a lovely rose bush, and they go, no, it's actually an apple tree, you'll be able to identify it. So we're half an hour ahead of time, so it's not one last thing. But Mike does a really good scheduling session tomorrow. He stole it off me. You're going to have your house, your territory. This is on how to compact your run up. So let's say you've got 50 clients, mark them all out. And they will become suburbs. Whoops. You got the tip, you got school. So you're going to break them up into equal parts, basically. So if you've got 50 clients, block them out in 10s, hopefully in suburbs. Now it won't work perfect, but over time, as your business grows, you won't leave this suburb. So we'll say Monday, stay close to home on Monday in case you've been on the curries. Tip Friday. School pickup Wednesday. Tuesday, Thursday. So over time, you're just clustering those clients on a certain days. Now, some will be 2 weekly, some will be 3 weekly, whatever it is. But eventually, you won't leave that suburb on that day. But the best thing about it is, when this client over here rings and says, I've had a tree fall down in the backyard, are you able to swing past and grab it? You don't even need to go to your diary or have a look at what you've got on for the week. You just go, yep, I'll be in your area on Tuesday. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't work at the start, and hopefully the guy you buy the round off will have this sort of thing happening. But as you grow, it becomes really, really good, and you'll smash out massive volumes. It could be an extra $50 mow a day by just having them all clustered up. Now, to sort of go against my advice, $25 jobs on for the week, and it's a trap for a lot of people. 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5. So what do you reckon's wrong with doing that? Not enough work. So my old man went guarantor on my loan, and he retired. So at the same time that I started the gyms round, he'd retired. So if I got home at 2 o'clock, he'd be sitting up, having his cup of tea. Finished already? I go, yeah, had a good day. It's only 2 o'clock, mate. I hope you're not getting slack. Right? So I was like, didn't want to get home early. So I was spreading myself out like that. And then after a while, a penny dropped. I thought, stuff it. 10, 10, 5. And then I used to get dressed in my gym's gear and go and hang out at my uni student mates' houses. Play PlayStation for 2.5 days. Hiding from my dad. But I'd make more money in less work. Sorry, with less expenses. But what actually happened, I didn't end up at my mates' houses. The 23rd client says to you, Mum's moving into a retirement home. We're going to sell her house. Can you go around and give her gardens a clean up? So I'd say, no worries, and I'd go and do it. Whereas if it's 10 a.m. on Friday and the 23rd client for the week says, can you go and clean Mum's house up? What do you reckon you're saying? I'll do it next week. Making sense? So you smash out what you can. 2 big days early in the week. Got a half a day on Wednesday, pick up that gardening job. Now, that lady speaks to me at 11 o'clock in the morning and I'm ringing her at 5 o'clock that night saying, your mum's house is done. What's she think? You are an absolute legend. And then you get a lead and you fill out that. Now, if it means that by Thursday or Friday you haven't got anything on, but you've smashed out all your week, do you know what? Go for a surf or service your equipment, write some client letters and thank them for, accepting you into their gardens or whatever you want to do. But because I can guarantee you, in a year's time, you won't have a Friday off. So don't beat yourself up if you've smashed out big numbers early and given yourself space. And then by doing that, I would say, and I'm throwing out numbers, but I would say half of my guys wouldn't book any regular lawn mowing in on a Friday. But what they're trying to do is fill up with 3 or 4 gardening jobs, and that becomes their $800 day. So they're bread and butter, bread and butter, bread and butter, and then bang, smash out 4 $200 gardening jobs, and hit the weekend with a smile on the dial. Make sense? Because you'll be tempted not to over book yourself, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But clients don't care. So if I had 50 clients here, there would be 2 out of those 50 that would want me on a particular day and time. At a guess. 5 max. Just turn up when it suits you. Righto. So you turn up to a lawn, it's just a little nature strip, or just a little front yard. Client wants to know how much it is for you to mow it. What do you reckon you're going to charge? What have you been told perhaps you can charge? Haven't? So have you all done trial days in the field? Yeah. So you'll get anywhere from, I think as an absolute minimum, $20, possibly 25. You wouldn't want to be stopping for much less than that. So the reason why, if someone's going to pay you $20 to $25 to do a nature strip or a small front yard, if you do it for, let's say you do it for 15, when you've got 12 jobs on for the day and you need to cull one, you'll end up culling the 15 bucker. And then that client's sitting at home going, takes him 10 minutes and he never turns up when he says he's going to. So you're better off going, if I charge 20 or 25, let's say, I like to go in minimums, remember, but we'll say 20. If you leave home at 10 to 8, you pull up out the front of their house at 8, you've mowed their lawn and you're back in your car by 10 past 8 and you've got 20 bucks in your pocket or 25, you're on your way to a $500 day.
That's your lunch. Oh, I can't tell this can't be my lunch because it's been more than our lunch.
You can eat as much as you want when you're mowing lawns. But yeah, so you've got to find that balance somewhere. I know if there's people from Perth will be probably sitting there going, nah, 40 or whatever. But as a smallish yard, or if you speak to the client and say, listen, it's only a really small mow. What about if I do your weed control and keep on top of your hedges and we just call it 50 bucks every 4 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. So to make it worthwhile, or I'll fertilise or I'll whatever. Because they're the type of client that you'll end up getting extra work out of as well. So working with them with a bit, but I wouldn't be stopping for much less than 20, possibly 25. Mike, I don't like to go to you too much, but would that be what you've sort of... 20 minimum charge, no less than 20, but probably 25?
Yeah, probably that 25 is more a realistic number today, 25 to 30.
Yep. So if you quote a client 60 bucks and they say, oh, that's way too much, don't worry about catching the grass and don't worry about doing any edges. Just run over it with the lawnmower.
You do it
Yep. So again, hand them your business card, smile, thank them for the opportunity and walk out of their driveway going, thank God I didn't get them. Because if you don't do the edges, what are all the neighbours thinking? Geez, that Jim does a rough job. Don't be sorry.
After working 3 days with 3 different franchisees, for me the biggest doubt I have if it's better to cut the grass or to mulch.
Yep.
Because some of them they just mulch it because they say it's good enough, and the customer wants me to cut the grass, I charge extra. And others say no, I wanna leave it very neat and tidy, and I always cut the grass.
Yep.
And I don't charge more.
So good question for those online is mulching versus catching. Mike will do a lot of it. Mike will run you through a lot of that tomorrow, Mike's session. It's about having the conversation with the client or about how good your equipment is. If the client doesn't know you've mulched it, that's a win. If it looks a bit messy and you're not comfortable with that, it's not part of like a premium service, you talk about catching it and using their green bin or charging extra to take the grass away. But every franchisee does it differently. So for me personally, I caught every lawn and I go and dump grass at the end of every day. These days, that's not as common. So you're either using their green bin or you're charging them to take it away. Or if you can, mulching's the best because there's no, you're not stopping to empty the catcher. It's the most efficient, but you just don't want the lawns getting too long.
It depends on how long the grass is too.
Yep. Mike will still mulch lawns that are that long. He'll just run over it over and over and over until it looks like it's gone. So yeah, it depends on your equipment. So, but some clients, like if I've got a client's got 2 dogs, for example, that are indoor outdoor dogs, and you're mulching and leaving grass clippings and they're dragging that through the house, the client's going to say to you, can you catch it? There's a few mowers where you can put a mulching plug in and have the catcher on. So it looks like you're catching it even though you're not. It's just a, yeah, client by client basis, and depends on what gear you've got. So we talked about your average cut and your cut value, so know what that is. So if you mow every client once, what's your turnover? And so once you know what your average price is, does anyone know what the average price is for the round they're buying?
I think mine's 66.
Yep, so if you know that, it can help you when you're quoting other jobs. So you can compare, know what your average price is, and therefore this is an average size block. But the easiest way to quote, so if your average price is 50 and you know you can do 10 lawns in a day, well that's $500. So keep bumping that average price up and you'll start smashing out some decent turnover. So 20, 30, 40 rules, like we're talking bare minimums. Absolutely. If there's a nature strip, $20. Nature strip in a front yard, small, like a unit for example, $30. If there's a backyard as well, it's $40 minimum. And then it grows from there. So what sort of things are we looking for? What's going to mean a lawn's going to take longer? Size, obviously.
How out of control it is.
Yeah, so outside of length, but like things like trampolines, stepping stones out to clotheslines that you're going to have to edge, garden beds, gates and access, corner block, so double nature strip. So the 20, 30, 40 rule is just sort of as a, if you know that there's a nature strip front yard and a backyard, it is going to be more than $40, unless it's a unit. The easiest way, what's your favourite job? Out of all the lawns you've got, who's your favourite? And compare every quote to that. So sometimes it's not always a time thing. So if you've got a nature strip that's on a hill like that, you'll hate going to that place because your thighs and quads are burning, calves are burning up at the end of it. So it might only take you 15 minutes, but you might need to charge that client $40. Otherwise you won't turn up to go there. I remember saying to a lady exactly that. Shallambra Crescent, if you watch the Great Ocean Road bike race, the hill climbs Shallambra, and I used to mow this nature strip on there. And one day I went into the lady and I said, look, I know it's only $20, but I hate coming to your place because this hill is killing me. Can I'm going to have to put the price up to 35. And she goes, yeah, we get you because we hate mowing it as well. And when you said 25, we thought we'd won the lottery. So find a benchmark. Now outside of that, when I had my helper, if he rang me and said, listen, lady across the road's come over and wants a price for the lawns, I used to just say to him, okay, if you go there at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, what time do you reckon you'll be getting back in the car? And if he said to me 9 o'clock, I'd say quote 60. If he said to me 8:45, I'd say quote 45 to $50. Get what I mean? $1 a minute. So the hard thing for you guys is knowing how long a lawn will take. But once you start to do a few, just go, if I get here at 8 o'clock when I'm fresh and fired up, when am I going to be out?
You sort of then just have comparisons of oh, that's like Jenny's house.
Yep.
Roughly the same size, I charge of that. So
Yep.
Then, like you say, you're taking trampolines, clotheslines, stepping.
Dogs. So dogs are a pain. If you go there to quote and all the bikes and that are stacked neatly underneath the pergola, guarantee you in 2 weeks' time when you go to mow it, they won't be. So you've got to factor all that in.
This one property I did was something for this guy at the moment. Like this woman's got 4 kids or something like that, and their backyard is just completely full of toys, like broken toys, toys they never use.
Yep.
Just full. And so you're literally like raking up all their toys.
Yep.
Back onto the, onto the paved area before you can mow the lawn. So it's 5-10 minutes you're losing just there. And it's like, I'm looking at the guy, he goes, he's sitting down having a cigarette like she's a friend, you know what I mean? I'm just going, mate.
Yeah. So dog shit was an interesting one for me. I had a mate that got me to do his dad's place, like the old man got me to do their lawns, and we were having a barbecue around at their place one day, and he just goes, mate, I'm loving what you're doing with the lawns, but when you turn up and I haven't picked up the dog, I'd much rather pay you more for you to pick it up than what you're currently doing and just running over it. So if there was dog shit in the way, we used to just run over it. That was what we used to do. And then once he said that, this was like years ago, but once he said that, I was like, perfect. So I'd make an extra $5. I think it was $5 a scoop is what I used to charge, not per, but each time I had to empty the scoop into the bucket or whatever that they provided, I'd charge an extra $5. So any client from then on with dogs, I'll just say to them, it's $50 for your mow. If I have to go around and clean up all of your dog turds, I'll charge you $5 a scoop. Just leave a bucket and the scoop out for me. And then you'd find that some clients would see that as great value, and you add an extra, and it's nothing. And if you get really good, you get neighbours 3 in a row, you can launch their dogs into the next house, then charge them $5, and just keep working along until you get to the end of the house and you're making a fortune. Not quite, but if you have the conversation with the client, tell them that's what's going to cost you more, then it's not a problem. Some guys hate it.
One of the days of throwing at each other.
Yeah, that's gone. But yeah, same thing. You can say to them, listen, more than happy to mow your lawns, but you know, your kids' toys are in the way or whatever, there might just be an extra charge for me to clean it all up. Fruit that's dropped under the fruit trees and stuff, like apples. So you might just say, listen, when all the fruit's falling on the ground, I'm going to rake it all up because we don't want to mow over it, but it might just be an extra small charge. It's a way to get an extra $5 or $10 out of them and they'll be wrapped. Having the conversation. Yep. So regular mowing, sort of got your head around that a little bit. Mike will do some with you tomorrow. So what are we going to do when the lawns are this long? Or that long? How are we going to price it? How are we going to quote? Any ideas? So I think the easiest way is, again, that if I get here at 8 o'clock, how long is it going to take? So if I'm leaving by lunchtime or whatever it is. Or sometimes it works out either way, or you can go, if this was a regular mow, it'd be $50. I don't believe it's been mowed for 3 months. In that time, a regular client of mine would have had it mowed, say 5 times. Therefore, I'm looking at somewhere around $250, plus a little bit extra for all the grass you're going to remove. And generally, you can explain it to the client that way. More often than not, what we'll do on a long lawn is we'll underprice it. So we'll charge them $120, for example, and we'll do a crap job. And you'll drive past in 2 weeks or in a week and it'll all be sort of standing up in that again. Whereas if you say to the client, and you're a better chance to get them as a regular, but listen, I reckon it hasn't been mowed for about 3 months. Regular price for a job of this size would be $250. I'm going to have to charge it. Sorry, regular price for this job would be $50. Given you haven't been mowed for 3 months, the first cleanup will be $250, but I will whippersnip it, rake it, mow it, and get it down to looking like it's a normal lawn. And you'll be surprised at how many of them convert into a regular.
Because then it's finally at its like.
Yeah, it's rather than paying that one lump.
And then they just go, I don't want to go through that process again.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. Long lawns are difficult when you're trying to price them, but also they're difficult when you get into the throes of it and the edges are taking forever. The blade edges are great, and you can get blade edges onto your multi-tools, or in WA they all carry them anyway, because that can save you a lot of time on the edges that have overgrown.
You mean the brass cutter?
Nah, like a blade, an Adam walk-behind edger. It's a blade that will cut a vertical edge for you.
The guy I do it
You see that multi-tool's got blades for it.
Yeah, it's sort of different to that again.
Yeah, the John's guy I did my training, Jim's guy, sorry, I did my training with. He's got one of those edges.
Yep.
He said, I just use it because I find I'm just not great with the snipper.
Mhm.
So it just saves me.
Yeah, they just rip through it.
Oh man, and he said, and then
It's easy.
through everything, and
Yep.
I've only got to do it once then.
Yep.
Saves time, so.
Dad taught me how to do it with an axe.
Yeah, well, that's the old school. Yeah.
Oh, he used to use the shovel.
Imagine quite that.
So again, blow once you've made the mess. But with the long grass, real estate agents and that, where the tenants have moved out and they've got to try and get someone in to release it, and they're using the bond money, that's where you learn how to get them down. Department of Housing pay us $200, regardless of length, to just get in, and we have to mow it and have it looking like it's, well, we have to catch all the grass, and the guys can do all right out of that at 200, but it's probably a bit low on some jobs. So it takes time to mow efficiently, so just give yourselves time. I know I keep harping on it, but any questions on that? No?
So you're better off being a little bit slower at the start and doing
Get it right.
with the client just
Yeah, and you'll be so much quicker. You will look back in 12 months' time, you'll look at your diary and go, what was I doing for that first 3 months or first 3 weeks?
If you've got to go back and do it a second time because it's not right, it's going to cost you double anyway.
Yep. So I've sort of harped on this a little bit, but I reckon that you can do, it's unusual to make $800 out of a client, one client in one day. You can, but landscaping that you will, but as I keep saying, you can knock over 4 $200 jobs in a day. So you can make 800, 6 to 800, just with the right gear, cracking in. So half day, 3 to 400 is very achievable. We'll talk about rubbish later. It's a bit of a bugger of a service, to be honest. It's up to 120 bucks an hour, 150 to 200 for 2 hours. So when you get home and you go to the pub with your mates and they sit around and go, how was the gym's course and what sort of money are you going to charge? If you say to them, oh, anywhere from 60 to 120 bucks an hour, when you leave the pub, what are they going to say about you? He's dreaming. I'm not using him. So if you can't tell your mates what your hourly rate is, don't tell your clients. But if you're going to be doing gardening, you want to be making more than your 400 and you want to be, that's your cream. So I wouldn't even tell your wife what your hourly rate is because she'll start buying shoes and shit she doesn't need.
My wife does that anyway.
Exactly, she'll do it worse.
She works and it's perfect for her now. She's a mad internet buyer.
Yeah, right.
That's like
Yeah, well, the corona's doing that. So this part, I think Mike may have mentioned it to you already. This is where you need to be honest with your toolbox. So we'll go and have lunch after this bit, but depending on what gear you buy, will depend on, and I want you just to visualise putting a price tag on each piece of equipment. So we've got your $1 a minute tools. $1 per minute. So, mower, blower, whipper, or in Canada, the weed whacker, hand tools, wheelbarrow, again we're talking minimums, but all right, so I've got $2 a minute, tractor ride-on, okay? Single story gutters, hedge trimming, poison, expert pruning. So your first rose bush you do, using hand tools, you're going to be going, better Google that. So you're getting $1 a minute. Once you're an expert at rose pruning, you'll be in and out in no time and you'll make a lot more than your $1 a minute, okay, because you're good at it. But if you're using a Ryobi battery hedge trimmer that's that big, there's no way known you can charge $2 a minute. I don't believe. So depending on the quality of gear that you're using will depend on what price per minute you put on it. Does that make sense? So then we've got our $2 plus, multi-tool, zero turn ride on, double gutters, expert hort, so we've got a hedge the length of this building and about 2 metres tall. We're just going to give it a nice little neat trim up. So we get there at 8 o'clock, fire up the hedger and start trimming it. And we're going to just shave a little bit off, go across the top as well, neaten her up. Nice little toss trim. So if I get there at 8, how long do you reckon I'm on the hedger for? Give myself an hour? Yeah, so John Wild might do it in 45, but you guys will be a bit slower. So we'll give ourselves an hour on the hedge trimmer. So hedger, 60 minutes times $2. And then we're going to put the hedger down. We grab our rakes and our blower, rake it all up, run over their lawns or whatever. We give ourselves half an hour to clean up, 20 minutes, half an hour. So we've got 30 minutes times $1 a minute. I'm quoting it at 150 and I'm expecting to be out of there before 9:30 if I got there at 8. Make sense? So we've got the $2 a minute for the multi-tool. So $2 plus, I mean. And the reason for that is that let's say we're charging $2.50 a minute for this. If you think about how much quicker you'll do that hedge because of the reach you've got, so that you might only be on this for 45 minutes. And you're out in an hour and 15, but you've still made that 150.
So what's the point to have a hedge trimmer?
Not all jobs will be quicker with the multi-tool, and sometimes it's good, I was going to say it earlier, but sometimes it's good to start without the multi-tool so you appreciate how much time it does save you. But little box hedges, you know, like the little smaller hedges, you might find that you buy a smaller little hedge trimmer, like a little smaller one, and then you have your multi-tool for your privacy screens. So it's different.
But still a small hedge, you could do it with a multi-tool.
Yeah, it's just hard. It's a little bit harder because you got the weight of it. You can do it. Plenty of guys just have the multi-tool hedger. Yep.
Yeah, they can get, especially long runs, they do get heavy.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you have to buy only one of the two, you will go for the multi-tool.
Yep.
Obviously, with the multi-tool.
Yeah, you can do both.
Many
And you can use hand shears as well on the smaller ones if you want. So I think if you can sort of visualise like if you buy a $4,000 tractor ride-on, it's going to be pretty much the same as having two of these going at the same time, which is your $100 an hour, $120 an hour. Zero turn, 10 grand ride-on or a 30 grand walker, you're up around $3 a minute or whatever it is. But you have to be honest with what gear you buy. If you're just buying a little crappy hedge trimmer, you might only charge $1.50 a minute. But as long as you can get some sort of structure in your head, it will start to make it a bit easier when you're quoting. And if you get it wrong, doesn't matter. If I've quoted an hour, $120 an hour for a hedge trimming, and it takes me an hour and 20 minutes, I don't care. I'm still making good money.
It's not the end of the world.
No.
The client's still happy.
Righto, so are we happy with that $1 a minute, $2 a minute, $3 a minute?
Yep.
It's a good way to do it. Be realistic with what equipment you buy though. I don't like the idea of you having a Ryobi multi-tool that you're charging $3 a minute for.
Just one question. Do you ever receive phone calls from customers to try to compare prices between different franchises?
No.
Customers don't bother, man.
No.
My clock keeps going backwards. Never on time.
No. But like, there's so many different markets within gyms. There's the clients that want a cheap price, there's the clients that want to pay more, there's the franchisee that is a bit rough around the edges and doesn't do a good job but is happy to make a bit less. So it all just sort of levels out. So obviously our competitors, James is no longer, but we really can't, we'll be similar price to all of them or more efficient. So you think of that hedge that we talked about, the guy that's got his thing up in the milk bar that's 25 bucks an hour, he's using hand shears to do the hedge, or a little battery hedge trimmer. It'll take him 3 hours at 25 bucks an hour, and then he'll charge the rubbish or whatever, and the price will end up similar. Okay, it might take him 5 hours by the time he has a cup of tea with the client and all that. But DIY we obviously can't compete with, but it's getting harder and harder for people to do it themselves. And even like my age group, 40s, a lot of those guys just don't own mowers and that anymore. Like in 97 I started, most of the clients were over 50, or even over 60. Whereas now it's anyone and everyone. So move on to the next client if you miss out on one.
What do you think is so? What do you think is that? That the customers now are everybody?
Time, Paul, mate. So, like even me myself, Monday to Friday working, and then you've got the school, after school activities for the kids, and then you've got Saturday sport with the kids, and then to go and spend Sunday mowing the lawns and that, it's just like, nah. So we're spending more hours at work to make more money so we can spend it on having people do our work for us at home. Yeah. All right, so if I'm getting $60 an hour or $70 an hour to hand pull weeds, that is unbelievably good money. There is no equipment costs, there is no maintenance costs, it is just you and your time. Guys get charged more than that because they don't like weeding, but I always say, if you're getting $1 a minute to pull out weeds, that is ridiculous.
Pull a lot of weeds in a minute. You can pull a lot of weeds in a minute.
Yeah.
You know, like average weeds, obviously.
Yeah.
Big ones.
Sometimes it's not a bad idea with weeding, just to say, like some people say, oh, I'm not real comfortable with you using Roundup. No worries, I'll hand weed it. Sometimes it's not a bad idea to say to the client, listen, I'll do $80 worth and I'll show you what we can get done for $80 before we go and do the whole lot, because sometimes it can be time consuming.
Yeah.
And often the clients will go, geez, you haven't done much. So that's one where I often am inclined to sort of give the client a little taste of what you can get done for $80. And then they'll say, oh yeah, better spray it. Hedge trimming again, $2. And then the multi-tool obviously. So pruning is an interesting one because that becomes very profitable. You're using hand tools, but once you become an expert pruner and you're starting to charge $2 a minute, that's some pretty good kanga. Mulching, not as in mulching lawns, but again, 60 to 70 to 80 bucks an hour to spread garden mulch. Shovel, wheelbarrow, how good a money is that? So sometimes you're going to get asked a quote for, they'll want to know what the price is going to be for 12 months, okay? And often franchisees get a bit overwhelmed by it all. The reason why they want to know what it's going to cost for 12 months is because they want to be able to factor it into their rent agreement or into their body corporate so that all the tenants or all the landlords pay X amount per month. So I've just got these slides are in your book as well, but basically forget about that right-hand column and just look at each of the tasks. So if they'll give you a scope of work, so they'll say we want the common area mowed and maintained, we want the car park weed free, and we want you to prune the roses every year or whatever, do the gutters. So all we're doing is just pricing up as if we were to do each job once, and that's when we start to then look at how many visits we might make to that to do that job each year. So you're not telling them that I'm going to mow it 21 times. You're estimating that you're going to mow it 21 times. Now, if it doesn't rain, you might mow it 17 times. If you get a little old lady that loves watering and her son works at Pivot Fertilisers, you might find you've got to mow it 25 times. So we've got 2,335. We divide that by 12. And our monthly invoice becomes 195 bucks, okay? So imagine you get 3 or 4 of them on your books. There you go, body corporates. Yeah, sweet.
So, yeah, but I haven't seen the breakdown from these lads yet. So
Yep.
that's why having, I was just saying before, just having not gone on the run with them yet, but having seen, learned what I've learned, I'm kind of already thinking, I don't think they've really, because they haven't serviced this run themselves for over 12 months now, I'm assuming it's sort of just been maintained. I don't think they've tried to upsell or
Yep.
do anything over and above. So I think there's definitely room for me to move to improve, you know what I mean? Improve it with the body corporates and all that already.
Yeah, every time a round turns over, clients will either use it as an opportunity to scale up or scale back, or they'll say, we used to ask John to do the gardening, but he was always too busy. You'll just be, what you're actually buying is a regular mow, and where you take it from there will vary. So drought proof, you'll do it in your own time. So these types of jobs are great because you go, I've got not much on Friday, so then you'll go and smash out a big day and clean up that place so you know that when you are busy, you're only spending the bare amount of time on site. All good? Are you allowed a landscape garden? Or do landscaping? Yep. So why did my mate do a 4-year apprenticeship, get paid stuff all to dig holes? Learn how to do it properly, and learn how to do structural. So you have to be qualified to do structural landscaping. So structural, like think of display homes. They're generally soft landscape. Instant turf, timber edge, mulch, trees. Anyone can do that. Once you start getting into large paved areas or pergolas, cemented in sort of water features and building big brick barbecues or steps and retaining walls and stuff, that's when you need to be careful that you're not doing stuff that needs to be done by someone who's qualified.
With the landscaping, say you get offered, like to do the landscaping, there's not a, can you outsource that, like the
Yep.
brickwork and all that sort of, you know, obviously stuff.
Yep, 100%. Yep, so they subcontract it out.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be to a gym's franchise.
No.
No, okay.
No, you can install a water tank, but then you have the plumber come and fit it off.
Okay. No,
So, could you please repeat what is not what we can do?
Soft landscaping, so anything like instant turf, timber, you know, little timber garden bed edges and plan outs, mulch, etc., etc. But once you start getting into retaining walls and steps and all that sort of stuff,
Okay, but
Where it's more structural. Sort
structural.
okay, but in those jobs, it requires some kind of design.
Some style.
To design the garden, or, I mean, you decide where you're gonna put the plants and
Yeah.
which plants.
They might have already approved plans, they just want someone to do it for them. So they'll give you the plans and say, can you quote this job for me?
Okay, so they give you the plant.
Yeah, or you give them, you can design it up as well.
Why can't design it myself?
Yep.
Yeah, you do a rendering of it, then you show the client, get them to sign off on it, and then go from there.
So no one really checks on this stuff until the Brisbane River floods or whatever it was, and the retaining walls collapsed, and they want to know who built them before they pay out on the insurance. So you just got to be careful, and that's why there's rules around what you can and can't do. So, but general landscaping, go your hardest. Smaller landscaping. So what you'll find is there's two landscaping. There's a client who rings around and gets 3 landscapes around a quote. Then you've got your regular lawn mowing client that you go and see every 3 weeks, and she says, I hate my backyard, or I hate that corner of the backyard. Well, that's when you talk to her and go, listen, why don't we put in some sleeper edges here, put a bird bath, plant a couple of trees. Happy days. She won't even get a second quote.
Yeah, because you already trust.
Yep.
Do you have many franchises that do this?
Yeah, I've got, out of the 70, I think I've got 3 or 4 that are qualified. Landscapers.
Yeah, that's my next.
So really, it'll be up to you. Often when we quote landscaping jobs, if your materials add up to $1,200, quite often the labour will end up being similar. So like $80 in mulch, generally it will cost $80 to spread, as a rule, general. So that's a starting point, but guys will often just price it up per day. Remember, you're on site, so less travel, like less running costs of your vehicle and stuff. So it can be quite profitable work when you're basically using your hand tools and all that. So if you make $600 and you're on site for the day, it's not a bad day. But you can set that as to how you like. Just be careful with your quoting, make sure that's all clear and so that everyone knows what they're in for. So I talked about it earlier, how I started out at $80 and stayed at $80 for 10 years because people used to nearly fall over when I priced it. So again, you can work off this. All I would say with your gutter cleaning is you probably need to take a ladder with you when you quote and go and check each corner of the house to make sure what's in it and how much stuff there is to clear out. But more often than not, if our guys are charging somewhere between 180 and 220, they're coming out of it pretty well.
Are they still climbing up on the ladder and then blowing it out?
Nah. Yeah, they want the 3 points of contact, maybe a little battery blower, but more, you're just scraping it out. And again, it's about the stuff in the valleys that you might not be able to reach if you're doing it from a ladder. You've just got to have that conversation with the client. And then guys are quoting 300 plus over the phone for double story, 350. It's one of those ones where I can ask around at a meeting. But again, if you're taking your ladder to quote, so everyone's different, but every house will have its own complexities that may make it more challenging or less challenging. But if you think you're going to be in and out in an hour and you're getting $150 for it, it's pretty good.
Some people use a drone.
Yeah, we actually, we have had a guy that used to do gutter, like the mesh stuff to put over it, gutter guard. But he used to quote from a drone. He'd just turn up to the client's house, fly the drone around, show them where there's any damage. But yeah, drones might become more and more popular. So again, we're just trying to scrape it all out, clear it, be able to say to the client, there's nothing left in your gutters, and I'll put a hose down your downpipe, it's all running. Water's all running down your downpipes, you've got nothing to worry about. Would you like me to come back in 6 months? Yeah, guys do them every 6 months, 9 months, change the season. So fire safety in winter. Any questions on that? So I've just got there, it's our most profitable service. Just purely because there's not any equipment involved. All right, rubbish removal, it's the most stuffed up service in terms of everyone charges a different amount. See how well that board cleared without having to do like Mike's little. Just give it a quick spray and just wipe it off. Don't need to get fancy. No. Righto, so rubbish removal. Why do you reckon it's difficult and why do you reckon people underquote it, overquote it, overcomplicate it? Because of the tip fees, so that's going to throw you off.
Just don't know time-wise how long it's actually going to take. You know, it's very hard.
Yep. We often underprice because 9 out of 10 franchisees are going to go to the tip on Friday afternoon regardless. So they want to empty their trailer out. So that little branch you picked up here and the branch you picked up there and whatever. So they end up they're going to the tip anyway. So when they get asked to do a rubbish job, sometimes they have the mindset of just trying to cover off the tip fee rather than charging the client accordingly. So does anyone know how many square metres, sorry, how many cubic metres we have in the standard 7x5 trailer? No, four cubic metres is in that box. So it's a 4 metre skip bin. So if you price up a skip bin at home, like if you go home and ring up a skip bin company and ask them how much a 4 metre skip bin is, generally I think they'd be around 240 to 300. So if they can't, if they don't use you and they go a skip bin, it's going to be up around the 240 to 280, I'm guessing. Or if they go and hire a trailer, so sometimes it's not a bad idea just to price up going to hire a trailer, and then they've got to do it all themselves, pay the insurance and pay the tip fee. So does anyone know what the tip charge is in their area? 15, whereabouts are you?
I'm only guessing, but that's but if you took stuff like that, I don't think that an issue at all, but it's all on weight.
Weight, yeah, okay, ours is not weight, but so my tipping.
Ours is a minimum charge of $45.
Yep. So even that, they're all different everywhere. So you need to know what your tip's going to charge. So ours is anywhere from 88 to 110.
So it could be a lot more. I was only there, and it wasn't really big load, so.
Yep.
You talking green waste or normal house?
Ours is the same regardless of whether it's green or
It's green waste in Canberra's
free.
much nothing.
Yeah.
It's like $2 a load.
Yep.
Yeah, it used to be free out our way. I think they changed it last year. But it's not, the green waste is not super expensive, but
So you need to know what they'll charge.
I think it's $60.
Here you go, we've got a list for you. So mixed waste in our area, residential Northern Beaches Council of Bosphorus, $3.70 a tonne.
Mattress, paint, tyres. So sometimes it's worth jumping on your council website and getting a printout of all the extra things they'll charge you for, because you can come unstuck. We had one guy cleaned out a rental property where they did a runner, charged $300 and got stung $300 in mattresses. Didn't realise it.
$50 a mattress.
20, yeah, anywhere 25, 30, depending on the tip. I haven't heard 50, but maybe 50. So you need to know what extras you're going to get charged for. But what I think you need to perhaps do, depending on what your tip charges, so you're sort of breaking it into 4 sections. It's probably not a bad way for you to try and compute it. So yours might, if they're only charging you 15, you might be $60 per quarter of trailer. Half a trailer, 120 or 180 or 160, get what I mean? So as you're going around throughout your week, when you do a hedge for someone and you grab a little snippet of, you know, if it's only like half a cubic metre or whatever, you might just say, oh, there's $40 for rubbish. And you're just trying to take snippets throughout the week to make sure you cover off. But you don't want to be going to the tip for much less than 240, which is a 4 metre skip bin anyway. You've got travel, driving around with a full trailer load, fuel, brakes. It soon starts to add up. But what we tend to find is that our guys will go in low because they're going to the tip anyway on Friday. So they see it as just a bonus to grab that money off the client. It's a real like if you ask Mike tomorrow, he probably hasn't done a rubbish job for years. I was talking to a gym yesterday and he said, I don't do rubbish jobs anymore. Clients think that I'm taking advantage of them. Really? It's a real difficult one. But if you just set some clear and know what your tip will charge, know what it costs to hire a trailer or whatever, so if they're going to go and do it themselves, and just be confident that what you're actually charging is fair and reasonable. Now obviously where it becomes difficult is you back up to someone's garage and the lady says, oh, we just need to get rid of that 3-seater couch, 2-seater couch and I don't know, a few boxes, it's going to fill your trailer up really quickly, isn't it? It might take you 10 minutes to load it, so then you start getting the gilts. But by the time you drive to the tip, so we go drive to the tip, 15 minutes. Well, first of all, we've got to quote and load. So we'll go quote plus load, 30 minutes. And this is based on reasonably good access. Drive to the tip, 15 minutes. Unload, 15 minutes. Sometimes it can be longer because every other gym's there. And then drive back to your next job, 15 minutes. So what have we got there? We've got hour and 15. 75 minutes plus tip fees of say 100 plus $1 a minute's not enough to be towing around heavy stuff with your trailer and etc. etc. So you can sort of see even on the best case scenario, 180 is not really enough either, is it? Have I made some sort of sense? You just need to work your way through it when you get home and ask a few of the guys. But if I go into a room of say 30 franchisees, I will get a price range from 60 to 360. And I've done it where I've gone to meetings and said, right, what was the last full trailer load of rubbish that you took away for a client and what did you charge? And you just get a whole different range. So she's a bit of a tough one.
I've never heard of like gyms doing like a clean out like that.
Yeah, and guys that get good at it, like you can, depending on your own setup at home and whatever, you can, people will come and grab fridges and stuff for nothing. Tyres, so the tip charge is $10 for a tyre, whereas Tyre Power or a tyre shop might only charge you $3. So if you can start to get smart with how you offload it and
Still charge the client.
yeah. So mattresses, depending on how feral they are, but you can Stanley knife them up and pull the springs out yourself. I used to always do it thinking there could be a stash of cash in here. Never found it, but so yeah, just the key is to put a bit of thought into it, but something along those lines, whether it's, depending on what your tip charge is, whether it's 60, just break it into quarters.
The company that I used to work for, he used to charge $25 a seat for a couch.
Yep. Yeah, and all the tips charge differently as well on what they collect and what they don't. So it's pretty important to know what your tip's going to charge you.
Just print off a sheet, keep it in your folder in the
Yep.
car.
Little quoting sort of, just so you can show them. I mean, I've had franchisees in the past that they get charged per weight. So they tell the client it's $120 plus whatever the tip charged me and I'll bring back the tip receipt and you can pay me for that. To me, that seems like hard work, but that's just a way of knowing when it's based on weight. It's pretty hard for them to know what the tip's going to charge because they don't know how heavy it is until they've done a few.
Probably get more clients out of it too, because it's honesty.
Well, yeah. So in terms of quoting, is there any services or anything else that you thought may have been discussed?
Sorry, I had a question online. Was how much approximate for single double story go clean?
Single approximate 180 as a minimum, so 180 to 240. Doubles, they used to quote 300 over the phone. It's probably creeped up to maybe 350 now for a double story. But again, it just depends. Every house is a bit different, but that's a bit of a guideline for you.
And Craig has also said there was approximately $85 for a full load clean away, which he used to work for.
Yeah, right.
For the green waste.
But 89, yeah, so they,
For a full trailer.
yep. So by the time you've done that, plus loaded it all up, which that's all very conservative, and you're getting charged $90 at the tip, you've got to be up around 200 as a minimum for your trailer load. Minimum. I just said to the guys that you probably don't do rubbish removal, Mike. Is that fair? No. So some guys just don't like it, but there is money to be made if you stick to your price guides. Anything else online, mate? Good work. So I've got a form for you to sign for the OH&S that we did this morning. So I'll show you where that is. So if you go to the very last section, it's called Mowing Training Handouts. When I say it's the last blue tab before they go green. And then you go 3 pages in. And there's a training acknowledgement form. The last blue tab, Mowing Training Handouts.
What do you mean? I've got a black tab.
Might be black.
There's a mowing training handouts.
Mowing Training Handouts.
Blue one.
There it is, last blue tab. There you go.
It's green.
Training acknowledgement.
What's that, mate?
Oh, it's blue.
Yeah, training acknowledgement.
I'm going to go back to Specsavers.
Should have gone to Specsavers.
I was hiding underneath the other one, that's why I couldn't see.
Has everyone found it?
It looks like that.
You did? We didn't.
Yeah, I think.
So if you fill that out, I'll grab it off you.
I didn't find it. Last blue tab
Yep,
at the front.
towards the back.
That's
Very
the
bottom.
Confidential operations manual.
And it hides behind another tab right at the bottom of your book.
3 pages in. So in terms of OH&S, remember that paper trail, cover your backside. Employees, speak to your accountant if you're going to have someone come and give you a hand because you want to make sure you're covered and insured.